Hello guys and welcome back to another video today. So something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a settings video. These are like one of the most highly recommended videos for any game you get. And I wanted to do one for Halo Infinite, being the new game that I'm playing. And a lot of people are always looking around for settings and sensitivity. I'm going to go over everything in this video. From the general sensitivity settings, all the way through video, audio, UI, and accessibility. I'm not going to be covering mouse and keyboard because I personally play on a controller. However, a lot of these settings will apply to players that do play on PC as well. So stick around and take a look. You might find something that will change your game drastically. Now, this video is going to be helping you guys find your sensitivity. This is going to be my settings. However, I'm going to go over them and explain why I use them. When it comes to the actual sensitivity of movement and looking around, I'm going to show you how you can find a perfect sensitivity for yourself and how you can feel comfortable, not just copying my sensitivity. The common trend with these type of videos is people will say this is the best sense, and it is just what they personally prefer. Sensitivity and settings at the end of the day are personal preference, so don't just copy everybody else. Everyone is unique to themselves. With that said, let's get right into it. For my button layout, I use default. I don't see the point in really changing away from this unless you're a hardcore Halo fan who's been used to aiming with the right stick for years. I wouldn't really bother going down to any of these. I know some people do like them, but the default just kind of fits really well. Aiming with the left trigger on controller is the same as every other FPS game. Obviously B is slide and crouch, A is jump. You can see it all on screen there. As for the thumbstick layout, that's default as well. Some people that are crazy do play inverted. I don't know how you guys can do that. If you're looking to move from any other FPS game to Halo, I would just stick to these on default. As for vibration, I have this on, but I would recommend you have it off. A lot of pro players and old pro players from controller throughout history of gaming have always had vibration off. In the back of your brain, psychologically, you don't focus on the feeling of your hands as much and more on the screen that you're looking at. I've been playing games for 20 years, especially FPS games, so I'm very used to not noticing it at all, and I actually prefer it. It makes me feel more in the game. Moving now to movement and aiming. Look inverted. These four, I recommend having them off. You don't want to be holding to crouch in a game like this. It's very old school mechanic if you're going to be holding it down. Press B to get down, you press B to get back up. Very standard thing in any FPS game. Holding to zoom, I always recommend having that on. It feels very weird tapping it and tapping it back. Same thing goes for sprint. I don't have this on to hold to sprint. You just want to click it and move your stick forwards and leave it. Movement assisted steering, I have that off. Maintain sprint, of course you want that on. You don't want to be cutting out randomly as you're sprinting. Auto clamber, I think the game default has this on. But the reason I've turned this off is simply because if I'm jumping around trying to avoid gunfire from an enemy, I don't want to be next to a ledge and then my guy grabs onto it and it causes me to die due to that situation. I would not have this on. I just think that even though it's very situational where it can mess you up, just press A. Just spam A when you're jumping, when you're clambering. It doesn't take any effort to do that, and having it on would screw you over, or have a chance of screwing you over, more than it would to not have it entirely. Okay, now on to the most important part of this video, and the part where a lot of you have probably clicked on this for a reason, is the looking sensitivity. Easily the hardest thing to get right in a game, especially for controller players. Look acceleration, I'm going to start with that first. I would recommend just leaving that at 2. I would not recommend changing that at all. You can mess around with it. I tried 5 for a little while, but 2 just seems to fit perfectly. As for these two, this is where it is entirely down to you. The best way to get used to the sensitivity is to just put it on something and get used to it. It's as simple as that. But if you are still struggling to find the sweet spot, I would always say start at the default. If it's too slow, play against bots for about half an hour. If you find yourself not being able to flick onto people too fast, up it. I personally think Halo Infinite's sensitivity is incredibly too slow, even at the max. This is half as fast as some other games have it. I have been playing on controller for nearly 20 years, and I've always played on the fastest sensitivity in every game I've played. I'm not saying run 10 sensitivity for all of you, but the best way you can get used to it, simply go against bots, and just change it a little bit. Don't drastically change it like some people do. Don't have it on 5 and then go straight to 6.5. Go up like this. Play for another 10 minutes against bots. Then go again if it's too fast. And you might not have these two the same speed, but I recommend you do. If you want to try my settings exactly, you give it a go if you want. Zoom sensitivity, I would recommend putting this to 1.1. a lot of other people I've seen are also using 1.1. So essentially, when you're using things like the sniper rifle and zoom optic guns, the sensitivity goes a bit slower than your normal sense. You can even have it at like 1.2. Don't put it too far up, otherwise you're going to be swinging faster than your general sense, just for the sniper rifle and the skewer, etc., just so you're maintaining a more consistent all-around basis even when aiming. And obviously the zoom levels, you have loads of different zoom levels. Go through them all yet again. Go around, shoot up bots, just put one gun on, play with the assault rifle, then play with a gun like the sniper that has a zoom optic, run around and practice shooting them until you get a very consistent flow of headshots. While you're landing consistent headshots, that means that you're very comfortable with precise aim, and that's what you want to get out of any settings video or settings for you. Moving on to the movement side of the game, depending on how old your controller is, I would say, is the most important thing for this. When you first get a controller, the sticks are quite stiff, and you won't find yourself automatically moving. You guys that have played on controller for years have probably always had a controller break over time, where you start seeing this, where your guy will just walk automatically in a direction, or look, your aim will move. The perfect settings I found so far for this, considering this is coming from someone who's had a controller for 2 years now, 4 seems to be perfect for me on the movement aspect ratio on every single one. I can control my character perfectly. You can still sneak by putting not too much pressure on the stick, but just enough so you know you're moving. You don't want it to be too low, otherwise you're going to find your character automatically swaying off in either direction. I find the right stick, I would recommend having it lower. I have it at half, because you want to be able to really get precise long-range engagements. And let me show you what I mean by this with the sniper rifle. So, if an enemy is at distance with the sniper, you don't want to have it so it's doing this. If you're trying to aim, you want to be able to move it really slowly and precisely. I know in Halo Infinite a lot of people are going to be moving around fast, but this does make a load of difference to every single game, not just Halo. Having it so you can move your stick slower and really precise on any obstacle for the tiniest little pixel movements, you will be able to land headshots a lot more viably and faster than having it where it's like this, and you can't land a precise headshot on a target in a certain area. A lot of people find they start moving their left stick to line up the shots, and trust me, yes, that can work, but you really want to get used to getting complete control of the right stick, and you will become a much better player. Moving on to the mouse and keyboard settings, guys. I'm not going to go over these. I don't play with a mouse and keyboard. However, we're going to jump to video, because this can apply to both mouse and keyboard and controller players. So starting with field of view, I would not use anything below 90. Once you play FOV past 90, you can't go back. It makes me sick playing on these kind of field of views. I don't know why anyone would put it on 65. Plus, it's just the obvious. You can see more around you. I personally run 101. There's not much difference between 100 and 101, but I think it looks a lot smoother. And I'll show you what field of view does now. So if you pay attention to the side of the screen and what you can see, if we have our field of view all the way down to the default, you can't see as much, and that just looks horrible. It makes your reticles look bigger, and it throws you off of your aim in firefights. I just find that overall, field of view is one of the best things you can have in a game like this. Being able to see more around you, and also having the reticle in the middle of the screen look smaller, it just makes you feel as if you're hitting your target more, and gives you that more satisfaction in gunfights. Moving down to these settings, these are some of the most important things that people do not do when they first load the game up on any first-person shooter. Blur. Turn it off. Blur is the worst thing you can get. Same with screen shaking. Put these to 0. It's going to put you off so much in games. It will get you killed. It even makes you feel sick sometimes. I mean, blur is just horrible. I understand why they have it, but just don't. Turn them off. Moving on to audio. Audio isn't a massive thing that needs changing. I've turned down the music a little bit. I normally in games have it completely off, but I don't in Halo because the music is awesome. We all love Halo music. I have it turned down enough so in the menu you can hear your friends and you're not getting, you know, opera just banging in your ears at all times. Hit detection effect, I have that at 8, just a default. If you really like hit markers, turn it up to 10. I think 8's perfect. You can tell when you're killing them. And if you really didn't like them, you can just turn it off. But come on, guys, the satisfaction of the Halo hit markers when you get a kill, you need that on. Moving on to UI, HUD, of course, have the HUD on, the radar, and just everything about Halo. The HUD is needed. I mean, you can play it off if you wanted in total realistic perception, but I would not recommend it. HUD capacity, I just leave that as a default. It's pretty much perfect how it is. Yet again, you can mess around with that if you wanted. If you have it on 0, obviously it will be 0. If you have it at 1, and you have it on really small, you'll see that you can barely see your hit indicator, and also everything's just, you can't see it. There isn't much point in having it like that. The default is perfect. It's slightly see-through, but enough so you can see everything in any lighting, as you can see, in the clouds, whether you're looking at the trees or grass, you can see it all. Going down these next few settings, a lot of these are entirely up to you as an individual, but I will show you everything that I've got. That is the idea of the video. You can take a look at the rest. But moving down to the outlines and colours. Now, red is a very eye-catching colour in the game. However, you've probably seen a lot of videos on YouTube already of people having the pineapple colour or sunshine colour as the enemies. They're both very good. I've been messing around with pineapple, but sunshine seems to stick out a little bit more. Yellow is just a colour that attracts the eye. It's as simple as that. You can have red. Red is obviously great. It's the most commonly used colour for enemies, always. But sunshine is a nice touch, and it does feel a little bit different if you wanted to change it up. Friendlies I just keep as blue. It's simple. And then green for your squad, because they stand out a little bit more. But yet again, if you're colorblind or you don't see certain colors as well, mess around with these. That is something that games have been doing a lot in recent years. That is a very, very good thing that they've put in, especially for people who struggle seeing certain colors. As for markers, I don't have showing enemy names on. I prefer the outline. It just sticks out. You can see them. You can have enemy names on. It is easier to see them. However, names just make it look really blocky for me. I would say if you're just playing for the sake of playing, have it on. It's just an easier way of seeing them. It can get a bit clustered though if there's enemies in a group. The gamer tags can sometimes hide someone that's like up on a higher surface behind other enemies. So just take that into consideration. Play around with it and see what you think. I would personally have it off though. Show fire team names. I don't have friendlies on because when you're looking across the battlefield and you're just seeing names everywhere, yet again, it's going to block some visuals. But fire team names, I have that on so you can tell where your mates are and which mate it is from distance. It just makes life easier for you if you're playing in a team. As for the UI visual effects, I have these on. Bloom normally in games isn't good, but in Halo, you kind of need it, especially on the assault rifle and the pistol. When you hold down the trigger, you can see the bullets spread wider. When you need to burst fire in certain situations at distance, it does help with knowing how to feather your trigger. The assault rifle, if you're just going to hold it down at range like this, it's just not going to work well for you when it gets to that point. So I recommend having that on just as a little bit of extra information in firefights. It will help you out. Last but not least, accessibility. Again, whatever language you speak, if you just want to put it on Korean, because why not, just go for it. And a lot of these I haven't actually touched down this side. In fact, I don't think I actually have touched accessibility. There's nothing here that would need changing from what is automatically there. Well guys, I hope this video has helped you in some way, one or the other. I know it is disappointing to hear that a lot of this is obviously down to what you want. However, I've tried to give you as much advice as I can on how to get to where you want to be, and any information I can regarding the settings to make it quicker and easier for you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. It means a lot to me. Appreciate everybody who watches. I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you next time.